Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the live stream with Daniel and Joe. And tonight, or this afternoon, if you're in Australia, we're bringing you some really cool stuff. How to end 2020 right and start 2021 like the best start you've ever had. Welcome on board. Big, massive round of applause to my friend, the legendary Daniel Tolson.
Mate, well, that's what she said. She said, how you end one year is how you start a new year. And I believe that we really need to start a new 2021 because for 2020, I believe there's just so much disappointment for so many people. And the disappointment comes from when you're setting a goal and you don't achieve a goal. And there would have been relationship goals that you had. I know one of my clients, he was planning to have his girlfriend move from overseas to Australia, and it didn't happen. And there was huge amounts of disappointments. I had planned trainings in Australia in 2021. However, I have not left Taiwan to come to Australia for a year. And so I know there's been a lot of disappointment, and we want to help you break through that today. So 2021, you start with a mental and emotional clean slate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I would like to re-second and reinforce the same exact message. In fact, I have made a video about this on TikTok last year, and 100% exactly, Daniel. One of the things that we do
we watch it?
We should watch it. If you have it, let's go.
Okay, well let's press play. Here we go.
All right.
So you've got to do things different. You ask yourself, what am I going to do differently this year first? Listen, if you want your 2020 to be different, you got to do things different. If you've done things that you've done in 2019, you're going to arrive exactly at the same result in 2020.
That's right. And arriving at the same result is exactly what we're talking about. If you're doing the same thing all the time, how do you expect a different result to happen? And this is the thing about this year. 2020 was not the same like any other year because we've had COVID restrictions. We used to spend $750,000 on flights only, Daniel, at Australian Effect. This year, we've spent about 10% of this. A huge drop. I know it's not just for us, it's for everybody this year. But at the same time, what did we learn from this year and how do we move forward? And to reinforce what you said as well, Daniel, on your side, that not just personal, there's personal and professional. So perhaps if we have the time tonight, we're pretty rushed for time, so probably another 20 minutes or so. But after this, if we didn't manage, maybe on the next live, we'll share with you how to start the emotional, amazing start for 2021 in terms of relationships and dating, and some really strong, solid tips that you haven't heard about and probably didn't even know ever.
The juicy and the sexy bits.
That's
so,
right.
Hamida, good to see you there. Jamark, good to see you there. I started last year on a high. I was in Sydney and I had just done a really big consulting gig, and I came back to Taiwan, and 2 days later I was speaking to a group of 1,000 people. And so our, what was that, 2019? 2019 finished off really, really well, and we started 2020 with a bang. However, it was all downhill from there. Now, downhill is not always a bad thing. You can gain speed going downhill, but it's how do you put your foot back on the gas pedal to get back up on the other side. And so for a lot of people, you could consider that 2020 has been a year of business model reinvention. And for, like Joe's saying here, they were spending $750,000 per year on travel, and they're now down to 10%. I spent about $80,000 and I haven't had to spend any. But what it's meant is it means I've been able to do business differently. And I believe the silver lining for 2020 for us was being able to do what we love 100% online, where just 1 year ago, it was about 80% face-to-face and about 20% online. So there is a silver lining there if we go looking for it. And I think we've got to learn how to look for it.
And that's right, exactly. And we not just learning, but also taking massive action. And, you know, I repeat this all the time. I don't know how many million, trillion times I have said, but I always say it's not the tips that we share here, whether with you or on our YouTube or by myself or by yourself. It's not about the tips. It's about your action, that you actually take immediate action on whatever it is. And thank you so much for joining me. For those people who are joining me, Hamide, Jemark, thank you guys for attending the live stream regularly. Appreciate loyalty. Again, to reinforce the point, we need to dive in. What did I learn from 2020? And if you're watching us on the replay, tell us some of the lessons. Remember that sharing helps everybody. We learn from you as much as you learn from us. And it's the ideas, we bounce ideas of each other, and that's exactly what it's about. So let us know if there's any lessons that you have learned, whether it's on the personal level or on the professional level, and share it with other people. And remember, whatever lessons we have learned, whatever we have jotted down, it's all about us taking corrective action to change that. And I guess for me and Daniel, because we have been sharing lives for quite some time now, and we are friends, we have had similar stories, maybe different kind of pathway, but we've had similar stories. And I think the commonality that me and Dan have, from my view, and I told you as well, Dan, if you remember, I said one thing I respect when I met you is how you take action on your stuff, which is as simple as it sounds. It's actually a rare coin these days. Everybody talks bullshit, and talk is cheap. But I respect people that when they talk about something, they deliver. And there are three different types of people in terms of psychoanalysis. The first type is the people that just talk. The second type are those people that just act. They are two sides, two extremes. And the most rare type, the type that will talk and will act. And this is a very rare type, and this is the type I respect the most, that will say, I will do this, and they actually do it and deliver the result.
Well, I was trying to wrap my head around the word correct, because when I heard the word correct there, I broke it up into two parts. The first one was and the next part was erect. And I thought, if you're taking the correct action, the only way is up.
you have phenomenal creative side to you on this arena kind of thing. So I have to really tone it down, because if I will start talking about dating, it was actually one of the topics I was discussing with one of my friends. She's an amazing women coach, and I told her, why not, let's talk about online dating, because there's a lot of people that are struggling, single people, and they don't know how to do it. And I don't know much about the experience myself from online dating. I started to jump on some online dating websites recently, and I started to look at profile, and I was thinking to make a couple of videos just as an evaluation. I can analyze someone. I always say, if you are struggling to analyze someone in a relationship or a date or something, and you're really struggling, and well, if you are a good friend of mine, I might help you. But if you want to be a client, it will cost you a lot, but I will analyze them for you from distance. I don't have to talk to people. I can just analyze from distance. So what can we see on those profiles? I was thinking to bring that. And maybe if you're keen, I know that you have been off the market for quite some time with Nini then. So maybe you need to rehone and refurbish some of the memories back in the day.
Well, she might put me back on the market. You never know.
I'm pretty sure she won't. But I guess part of being, available on the market, you see what's happening, what's trending. I was doing a live, and there was these two ladies. It's gonna come on my YouTube. I'm sharing with people, how can you make your live streams really rock? There's certain strategies that nobody's talking about, because it's not something that people think about. It's quite creative, and there are quite a couple of tricks I'm going to be sharing on YouTube. I'm not doing them in this live stream here, but I do them on TikTok and I do them on YouTube. What can we do to bring those live streams? So anyway, these two ladies that I have met, they introduced to me to something, I haven't even heard about, Tinduba. I was like, what the hell is Tinduba? I have really no idea what is Tinduba, but it happens to be like some kind of a dating platform that I haven't heard about. And welcome to the people that are joining us again in this live. We're talking about how to end 2020 right, and really take corrective actions on 2021, whether it's on a professional side or personal side, emotional side, love side, relationship side. It doesn't really matter, but this is what we're talking about, and it's all about your action. And Sandra here, many of us learned to be resilient, which is a great thing. 2020 was really hard. And Hamide, although the world has been full of suffering in 2020, it has also full of the overcoming of it. And that's right. We are living for hope, but hope without action is just a dream. It's just a wish. And me and Dan, I don't think we really appreciate wishes here. We more appreciate reality that can move that into a set goal that gets nailed and achieved in 2021. No matter what is going on, we're going to nail it.
100%. My question, Joe, is why would you want to reflect on 2020, even if 2020 was a crap year? Why would you want to reflect on it anyway? I think that's a good place to start. Why would you want to reflect on 2020 as you step into 21?
Learning in life then happens on all different sides of life, and also all different ages and all cultures and languages. And why do we need to reflect? I always say that the reflection is part of your development. And you need to have that reflection time, whether you want to reflect on an event, on a month, on a year level, whatever it is. Because if you haven't learned some errors and some, I'm not going to say mistakes, I'm going to say errors, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. I'm saying errors, not mistakes. So if you haven't learned from those errors, you may be inclined to do the same thing in 2021. So you might find yourself running into what I call loops. And the loop is that you are basically in your comfort zone, doing exactly what you have done and just rotating. But what's changing around you is probably your age and probably the buildings around your area and so on, but nothing inside you is changing. And why I called it error and not a mistake, because I say an error is always an error until you refuse to correct it. And if you're not reflecting on 2020 and what are the lessons that you have learned from it, you're already setting yourself in a very bad angle on 2021, that you are making it a mistake, not an error, because you're not looking into correcting it. We all make errors. I personally make a lot of errors, but I can guarantee you, I never, ever make a mistake. I always correct myself.
You know, I was searching through some books many years ago, and Socrates was doing some writing, and he said, an unexamined life is not worth living. And I believe that an unexamined year is not worth living. And I think if we have a look at the lessons from 2020, we can get the learning on what's valuable, and then we can set a new plot and we can start to head in a new direction. And remember, we are creatures of comfort. We do get into our comfort zones. By nature, we are lazy by nature, and we'll do as little as we have to. That's why we have cars that are automatic. That's why we have automatic and electric windows. That's why we have air conditioners, because we don't want to blow the fan on ourselves. And so when we have a look at the lessons of 2020, we can say, well, what worked for me? And when you ask what worked, then you can repeat those success habits. When you say what didn't work for me, then you can say, well, in 2021, we've tried that. It doesn't work. And then you can bypass those mistakes again.
Correct.
What happens is, because people don't examine their life, they tend to repeat the same mistakes. And going on to what you said before, you know, if you keep doing what you've always done and expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity.
Correct.
And so you don't want to be insane in the membrane. You want to ask yourself what worked in 2021, and then you want to ask what didn't work, and then you can ask yourself, well, what will I be doing differently next year? And you collect those learnings. That's where the gold is. The gold is in the learnings.
100%. And taking action then on it is the thing that really drives me the most. Especially I see there is a trend, I don't know, or what it is. Just so many, I'm not going to say generation X, Y, Z, whatever it is. I actually see it across all generations. And the thing that I feel extremely surprised about is, how do you manage to do this every single year? Consistency is not there. They start something and then they don't accomplish anything. And then they start, I call it like you open a new page in a book then. This is probably the best metaphor I can explain it, because I have a habit, once I start on a book, I nail it all the way through. I'm a worm, pretty much. If I open the book, bam, I'm on it all the way through. And those people now, they just open book. They read a couple of pages, then they put the book aside. I wouldn't say close it. They just put it aside. And then they open another book, read a couple of pages, put the book aside. And then there's so many pages that are open. That's how I call it. And why they feel exactly that they are still exactly in ground zero is because there is not even one book or one page that they have opened, they actually finished. I will give you a very, very simple example, even on social media, Daniel. I don't know, believe it or not, because I'm very keen. You know my style. I look into things, I analyze behavior, psychographic analysis, all the crazy stuff that I do by default. I see sometimes some of my followers that I have on YouTube, they have been with me for years. Every single video, they might skip a video or two, but then they're commenting on other videos or messaging me or whatever. So I know that they're following. And then on TikTok or Instagram, I see some people, they DMing me, they calling me, they trying to talk to me, comments every day, and then they disappear. And then they do this with someone else. And then they do it with someone else. But it's exactly the same thing about their behavior. And when I looked at some of those people, I also realized that they jump from job to job. They also jump from a partner to a partner. They also jump from a house to a house. So you can see here, it's a patternal behavior. It's not just about social media or with me or with someone else. It's just a thing about that person. And for those people, if they ever get to watch my live here that I'm saying, I say, you need to start finishing the book. Don't open too many pages because it will consume all the power of your brain. And you will feel that you're exactly on ground zero, exactly in the same spot. You haven't moved. Nothing was accomplished. I don't know, Dan, if you've ever noticed that or you've encountered that type. Mike is yours.
It used to be me. It used to be me. There's three energies in life, and we can start things, we can change things, and we can stop things. And I believe that people are very good at starting things. And it takes about 95% of your mental energy just to begin. So it's easy to start a relationship. It's easy to start reading a book. It's easy to start a diet. It's easy to start anything. But because it takes 95% of your mental energy just to begin, most people run out of energy really, really quickly. And so we see all these people starting, and think about this, we're just a couple of weeks away, and the memes are going to start coming through. The memes are going to start coming through. 2020 was the warm-up. 2021 is the game. Those same people put the same memes out in 2019. 2019 is the warm-up. 2020 is the game. And what happens is they start strong, but they run out of wind immediately. The wind is blown out of the sails. And so what happens is they never finish what they started. And every time you start something and you don't finish it, it impacts your levels of self-esteem and self-worth. Because you start it, you make a promise to yourself. And as we talked about last week, if you don't fulfill the promise, you break the promise, and then you lower your own self-esteem. And so they keep doing this. And this is just a pattern of habit. So what you do is you have a look at what you started in 2020 and you have a look at what you didn't finish. But I also believe that you've got to make a decision at this time of year, Joe. And you've got to ask yourself, knowing what I now know, would I start that again? And if the answer is no, what you've got to do is you've got to cut it off immediately so you're not carrying it over into 2020. And it's like the analogy here of the books. I believe the latest statistic shows that about 80% of books that are purchased by women. But out of all the books ever purchased, less than 95% are ever completed. And so we create these bookshelves, these shrines of these books that we've bought and we've never finished. And so what you've got to learn to do is you've got to learn to throw them out. And if you're not going to finish it, you've got to throw it out so you're actually finished with it in the mind and there's no open loops.
Correct.
So what do? You make sure you finish off 2020 by asking yourself, what worked for me in 2020? What did I do right? And you take a stock take of that. I don't know if you've ever been in retail, but at the end of the financial year, you count all of your stock. And then you say, well, what didn't work? And you take stock of everything that didn't work. Because even in a retail business, you count all the stock that's missing or that's been stolen or it's unaccounted for. And then the third thing you ask yourself is, what will I do differently next time? And now you've got your plan of attack and you say, well, I'm not going to repeat the failure habits. I'm going to repeat the success habits. And remember, success is a habit and failure is also a habit. So coming back to the question, why do they repeat it? Because they've repeated it in many different ways. And wherever you go, there you are. How you do one thing is how you do something. If you don't finish it at school, you're not going to finish it at work. If you don't finish it at work and you're being employed by somebody else, you're never going to finish it in your own business. And so we have to examine our life. And just like Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. And for those people who get out to the end of their time in their 70s or 80s, they'll look back on their life and they'll go, that was not a life worth living because they waited too long. So we've got to do it now. We have to do it now.
100% agree with you. And it's just amazing how we're looking at it from this angle. And those people that do exactly what you said, Daniel, this is a game. It's a social media game played by so many names. I don't want to mention names so some people don't get upset, but I know exactly the game that they are playing on you to get you to basically pay for something or attend something with them, etc., because they're just selling you the hope, that feel, oh my god, 2021 is our year, let's go, it's happening, we got to bring that energy in, let's go, and all these things. Hard work is, when people ask me then, how do I do what I do, I tell them, certainly I'm not a magician, but if you want me to look at even my studies and everything that I have done before, I slept most of the time 4 to 5 hours a day. I'm not saying that this is correct. I'm not saying this is right. I'm not suggesting for everybody to do crazy stuff that I'm doing. I'm not suggesting any of that. But the idea here is, if you want to get somewhere, you will have to do the right thing, and you have to continuously and sustain and be constant with doing whatever that right thing is that makes you happy. It's like a Japanese model, the Ikigai, where you're going to find exactly where you want to see your life for the rest of your life, prosperous, happy, and doing whatever it is that you're doing, rather than just building that, this is an indone release of euphoric feeling, euphoria. That gives you, I'm looking forward to it. How many days? Christmas coming, etc. 2021 or 2022, whatever it is. And then where are we now? Exactly in the same spot. So I'd like to welcome some people just, emerging. If you are watching us on the replay, participate, jump in the conversation. And if we didn't manage today to finish the emotional and relationship kind of tip, how to roll 2020 and on to 2021, we'll do it on the next live stream. Welcome on board, Katrina, so helpful. Thank you both. It's a pleasure. Hamide is saying, 100% agree, Doctor. 2021 cannot be the year of talking, wishing, or wanting. This has to be the year we get the job done. And what do we say, Daniel? Inshallah. That's the last thing we need to say.
And some people say maktub.
Yes.
It was written. No, it wasn't written. You get it to write it yourself. One of the things that is really important, I always do this starting last week. I sit down at the end of the year and I start to prepare my goals for the next year. So before I start writing my goals, I do a stock take. I go back through and I have a look at all my goals that I set for the year. And I have a look at what I achieved and what I didn't achieve. And the first thing that happens is when you reflect on your year, it's very easy for you to beat yourself up for what didn't work. But one of the things that I know, Joe, is if you set the goal, it's important to you. You never change the goal. You always change the angle of approach. And sometimes we set the goal, and the first time we move towards it, we don't achieve it because we haven't learned enough. If we knew what to do, it wouldn't be a goal. It would be an activity. So we set the goal and then we reflect on it and we say, well, what worked and what didn't work? What do I have to change in my angle of approach? Who do I have to become in 2020 in order to achieve the goal? And we go back and we reflect. So I went through my list of goals, and about 8 out of 9 goals that I set I didn't achieve. And I wasn't expecting COVID-19. But next year, moving into next year, I can now factor this in. Well, in the event of a pandemic, knowing what I now know, what would I do differently next time? And so I start to think, okay, well, if I was hit with COVID-19 in 2021, this is where I'd put my energy. This is how I would approach it. And so you've got this data, you've got this content in there. And so when I get to the bottom of the list, those goals roll over to next year, but now there's a new strategy in place to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've been doing. I then reset and I set a theme for the year. And I also set an angular approach. So my theme for 2021 is no excuses. And I always have a theme for every single year. And my theme for 2021 is no excuses. Okay, COVID was an excuse, but it's been around for a year. It's going to be around for another year. No excuses.
Right.
And so I'm getting ready by preparing, but I'm already warming up the engines. I've started my affirmations for 2021. I've started my new gym routine, and my body hurts. But if I start warming up now, by the time the clock ticks over and we hit 2021, my body will be used to the pain of the new workout. My mind will be used to the pain of the new routine, and I'll be settled in, and my groove will be already in the ice as 2021 kicks over. So I'm going to have a head start, and I really recommend that everybody else starts to plan now, because what will happen is on the 1st of January, people will wake up and go, what do I want this year? But they'll wake up with a hangover. They'll either, you might say, I don't drink alcohol, but maybe you smoked too much tobacco the night before. Maybe you had too much shisha. Maybe you had too much hummus and tabbouleh. Whatever you had. Somebody wakes up with some type of hangover. Maybe it's too much TV. But I'm going to hit 2021, day one, on the ground running. And I know if I get that head start, it's like a horse in a horse race, Joe. The horse doesn't have to win by a whole length. The horse doesn't have to win by a head. All the horse needs to win the race is by a fraction of a nose. And so if I can get out there early, get out of those gates early and get a head start, then I'll build momentum. And I recommend that you do the same thing. You'll have the upper hand the whole year.
If you are already, there was this statement from a movie that I can't remember. It says, if you are on time, you are late. So what it really is, it's kind of summarizing kind of what you said, that if your appointment is at 9 o'clock and you're there 9 o'clock, you are late. We both know that you're not technically late, but the idea here is that you're supposed to be there 5 to 9, maybe 10 to 9, maybe 15 minutes to. Doesn't really matter, but that's the idea. And if you are on time, you are late. So the approach here is that how can we be ahead of time? How can we be there for that appointment 5 to 9 or 10 to 9? Then I want to ask you a question, and I have a couple of answers, but I want to see your view, and I know that you don't know that this question is coming. But it's an interesting one to see your perspective and see if somebody shares the perspective. And for those people who are watching us right now, I appreciate if you can participate in the comments and let me know what is the difference.
Go to the chat box, type away.
That's right. That's exactly right. So we've got that, and I know that we're approaching towards the end of this, so we've got a couple of minutes. So I'll try to be super quick for this. Here's the question. What is the difference? What is the difference between going online, capturing information, learning some stuff, and between booking a coaching session and actually going with a coach like me and Dan? What is the actual difference? And in my view, there is one difference, and I want to hear it. Let's hear from you, Dan, and let's see if you guys can type in quickly in the comments or in the live replay. Make sure that you tell us without listening to the answer that I will say later.
Well, it's like a brain surgeon trying to do surgery on himself. He's going to absolutely screw it up. And in my opinion, a man can't be, or a woman can't be, their own therapist. So if I was to approach this, I'd say the person is insane. And what happens is you're thinking inside the box. So if you're to book a one-to-one coaching session, what happens is you get decades in minutes. We have seen thousands of people around the world, and we know what success looks like. So when you go and book in a coaching session, you get decades in minutes. And so you get on the fast track and you get what works, and you bypass all the mistakes. Now, that might be different to what you're looking for, but that's what comes to my mind.
That's cool. I agree with you, and it's not what exactly I want to say, but it is true, because obviously you've got a coach, you've got a mentor that will get you on the right path right away, rather than, looking for things. I remember when I had issues and I was actually trying to connect my DSLR to go live streaming with my DSLRs rather than my Logitech Pro 4K cam because it just didn't feel right for me, even though I have it. And there were so many people out there having the same problems and so on and so forth. If I had a coach that knows that stuff very well, would have cut through the time and saved me that time to actually put me on the DSLR right away. But I didn't. So you end up watching all these videos on YouTube or social media where they're telling you at the beginning of the video, I'm going to help you out to connect to your DSLR. And then you realize it's not the Sony that you want to connect, or it's not the Canon that you want to connect, or there are missing steps that they're not telling you, and so on and so forth. So I agree with you 100%, Dan. However, the answer I want to say from my point of view is one thing. The way I see it, I didn't really articulate the question 100%, but it's not the only difference, but it's the main key difference I'm looking at. If you are looking to improve your self-confidence, there is tons of content online for free. You don't have to pay a cent. But I want to ask you a question. Watching all that content for all these hours without someone guiding you through to the core, like Daniel said, is going to save you years. How much is that? Yes, you're not paying money, but you're paying your life. Coaching with us, to me, the way I see it, in my style in particular, is sometimes we watch those videos and we don't actually act on them, but being part of the group, like with those people who run into online workshops and they have a group together and they're working together. One main difference: we'll make sure that you do what you said you will do. And that's the only thing, in my view, as a key factor, other than what Dan mentioned, that you can't get by yourself. And this is what so many people are not really getting. So now I want to highlight this for ending this year and starting 2021 is exactly how to make sure that you actually do what you are supposed to do or what you promised yourself to do. If you are part of that group, if you're part of a session, other than the certifications that you get, like some people get certification depending on the course, putting all that aside, the time that you save and actually making sure that you set and you nail is really unprecedented, and how much value is here. The mic is yours, Dan.
Well, I was just thinking, if knowledge was power, why aren't all librarians billionaires?
Well,
that's what we hear
true.
all the time. We always hear it. The more you learn, the more you earn. But knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is powerful. But you've got to have the right knowledge at the right time. Because I read books 20 and 30 years ago that were the best-selling books at the time, but I never applied it, and I wasn't in the position to apply it.
That's right.
When I go and work with a mentor, they've always fast-tracked for me. They say, well, Daniel, this is where you're at. This is the 3 steps that you need to take right now, and if you just do what successful people do, you'll get the same result. And it happens every single time. Well, my brother, I know we're 33 minutes into the live stream, and we're going to start reviewing our own years. So I'm going to get to the pens and paper. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're Christian or Catholic and you're celebrating Christmas, then Merry Christmas to you. For all of our other friends from other religions and other parts of the world, happy and safe holidays. And we will be having Chinese New Year shortly. And so our friends here in Taiwan will celebrate Chinese New Year in February. And then what about Ramadan in 2021? What month is it going to be?
Probably May, end of April, May. So, yeah.
So there's a lot to look forward to, and a new year can start anytime. You don't have to wait till the 1st of January to start a new year. You could start it now.
That's right. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Dan, for this. You guys are super awesome, and I'm super excited to share with you. Perhaps we share the personal stuff, relationship stuff, how to end this 2020 with a step by step. But you miss on the point of someone monitoring and making sure that you act. If you need any help, you need someone, you need to be part of that cult, make sure you get in touch with us, and we'll see you on the next live next Monday, # 6 p.m. Sydney time. Thank you and take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Ciao for now.